And similarly, the contagion started. So we went from Africa to the Middle East and to Latin America. And as you can see, we have started the same thing, bottom up in these places. Real deep strategies. For those of you who have not seen these, please go look for them on our website. Tremendous amount of work was put to understand how bottom up, working with our partners, ISOC and the regional RIRs, to figure out how we can make this happen in these areas. This is an example of what ICANN is best at. In less than 6 months, we have regional strategies that are not only written, that are activated in 3 parts of the world. And I look forward to stand on the stage seeing our Asia-Pacific strategy also start. So, as you know, having taken the gift we received and shared it back with China, our own Dr. Shadong Li is now back, and he's the new CEO of CNNIC, but we are also with him working on selecting the new leader of Asia, and I'm happy to tell you that we're down to 3 candidates, and we will be announcing our new leader for Asia, based in Singapore, very shortly. And this person will be responsible, as one of their first actions, to do the same thing, to build a bottom-up Asia strategy that allows us to touch all aspects of the development of industry, our relationships with governments, our relationships with civil society, and all the parts that make our engagement complete in this region. We also, in some of these countries that you see, Brazil, Turkey, Russia, and India, we have started for the first time country strategies. Now, I want to talk about these, and I hope we have people here from .br, because one of the first things I did after Toronto, in fact, the next day, I got on a flight to Sao Paulo at the invitation of Glasser. Is Glasser here? Where is he? Okay. All the people from .br, please stand up so we recognize you. Please, come on. Okay. Thank you for being here. These guys were tremendous. They invited me down to Brazil, and I went there, and they said, come see, we have a multi-stakeholder environment here in Brazil. I said, well, we do too. They said, no, 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 ours is special. You have to come see it. So I flew down to Sao Paulo, and they invited me to attend a CGI. It's called CGI. If you don't know about it, go visit cgi.br. It's an impressive way for a country to build a country-level multi-stakeholder organization that guides the country into the internet policy as well as internet development of their country. Governments, businesses, civil society, academics, all sit together, 21 of them, with governments having only 9 seats. They sit together and they plan how they do this as a country. I was very impressed and very proud of the great effort they did there. So much so that I've been running around the world telling people, here's an example. Here's an example of how a country, at a country level, embraced the multi-stakeholder model. And I can't announce it today, but just in the last few weeks, I've visited some countries, and I already have news. One country changed their laws since I visited them to allow governments to sit on a non-profit board and run the internet in their country. They went to cgi.br, they saw the model, they loved it, and they're moving forward with it. And we'll be announcing these in the weeks ahead. This is engagement. We're leaning into the communities that need to hear from ICANN. Let me talk about the international organizations. Many of you saw me speak at the Wicket. And this was not an easy decision. ICANN's CEO, president, and chairman were there, standing in front of the ITU community and sharing with them who we are. We could have, of course, said, no, we're not going to go there. But we did. And with Steve's leadership and the board's support, incredible support, we went and we engaged, and it made a difference. It did make a difference. And in fact, today, as we speak, several of the countries at the Wicket that met us and engaged with us have now joined the GAC, and they're part of our Government Advisory Committee. And that's what engagement does. We're also engaged with many of the ISTAR organizations. We always have been, and that engagement is central. I want to be clear on this because I personally didn't get the depth of that, and I'm continuing to learn how important it is to understand that we have a responsibility, but we are part of an ecosystem. We're not alone. ICANN has a role. ISOC has a role. The regional RIRs have a very important role. Our friends at W3C have a different role. We have shared responsibility for the multi-stakeholder model of internet governance. And the better we work together, the more we coordinate our vision and share it with the world, the more we succeed. So I want to thank them and recognize them. And I'm hoping, if they're here, to ask you to recognize them. Is the president of ISOC here? Is Lynn here in the room? And if you are, don't be shy. Stand up, Lynn. We want to see you. Here she is. Lynn, okay. And the CEOs of some of our regional internet registries, are they here? If you're here, please stand up. We'd like to recognize you. Anyone from the internet registries here? I saw Adil earlier, but he probably is not in the room. But they're here, and please recognize that we work with them very closely. We are partners. And I want the world to appreciate that it is through this shared responsibility that we will succeed. Now, many of you have seen my blog in the last few months, littered with meetings with business people. And they said, uh-oh, Fadi's business roots are taking over. That's what he knows what to do. But let me explain something for you. We are in the middle of launching a program that has enormous implications on the DNS industry. And one of the key things we recognized is that the business framework, the legal framework, the global framework for how this industry is born moving forward must be revised and done in partnership with the industry. And so I've been meeting with the leaders of this industry, and it's been fantastic. I thought, frankly, that I would have to drag some of these people into doing some things in the public interest. And I must tell you, they're the ones pushing me forward. I am very impressed with how industry is responding to the new call for responsibility. And I think that as the days here ahead of us come, you will hear some fantastic news, some very good news. I know many of you have been hearing all the difficult news about how we're going to advance on many fronts. But let me tell you, in the middle of all of this, there is tremendous goodwill. I have goodwill, and they have even more goodwill than I ever imagined they would. One of the things we're discussing with them, and this is a first, is an ICANN community registrant's rights and responsibilities document. This is kind of, in American terms, a bill of rights for the registrant. It is giving the registrant his rights and responsibilities clearly, written in understood language, not legal language, that they can understand it, and it's part of the contract so that I can enforce it, because that is my responsibility. So these are some of the things we discuss. And I must tell you, I did not even have to write the registrant's rights and responsibilities. The registrars did. And I want to really thank them, because they rose to the opportunity to actually lift our industry into a new time, into a time of deep understanding that we represent something of value to the world. The public interest is at the heart of what we need to do. Business is good, nothing against business, but we are in a unique place, and we must focus on the public interest. And that is great news for ICANN. It is great news for the users of the internet around the world. The last thing I want to say on our engagement is that engagement sometimes is difficult, because it may look like we're going too far. I got an invitation to be in the opening ceremony of the WTPF, which is coming up here in May. And again, we go through the same discussion. Should we be there? My inclination is to be there and to lean into every community willing to listen to our multi-stakeholder model. So I look to hear from many of you. I'm here to listen. If you have different ideas on that, please let me know. But from my perspective, leaning into the communities, something I learned from my chairman and from Lynn, leaning into these folks and being there and sharing with them why what we do matters and why we want to work with them is the right way to go. So, for those of you who will be there in May in Geneva, I look forward to see you. So, lastly, I want to talk about one last area. It's also our season to evolve. Now, evolving is not always the easiest subject to chat about. Advancing, embracing new things. And so, before I start talking to you about evolving, I invite you to watch this video that is now on my ICANN's front page. This is now on our... Thank you. So, as the video showed, we're now starting a process to think about where ICANN should go. And I invite all of you to participate. This is on the My ICANN website. By the way, the video is available there, not only in English, but it's also in Chinese and in other languages. In Chinese, it's even narrated in Chinese. So we can invite all of the community, everyone, to participate. Please engage. Please let us know how you see ICANN evolving. We have to know, if I can have my slides again, we have to know that ICANN cannot continue, as I said back in Prague, to be a fortress. The fortress model is not sustainable. And the silos within this fortress are not sustainable. We have to break them. We have to change ICANN's posture. The winds of change are very powerful. They come because of users and socioeconomic changes. They come because of technological changes. Governments now need to have a different voice, maybe. I don't know. But the winds of change are surrounding us. The introduction of the new GTLDs changes completely how people acquire these names and how they use them. As the winds of change come at us, we must change. And in the belly of ICANN, we have to have systems and processes and structures to actually deal with this growth. So, my vision of evolution is that we move to a world where we become truly an oasis of trust and confidence. People should come to ICANN and believe that here they can get their work done. They can get their questions answered. When they put a comment in a public comment period, they know what happened to it. Where did it go? How did we respond to it? We must get our act so that we can become a true place of confidence and of trust for the world, open and inviting. Now, as we go through this change, a lot of us get worried about what changes. Let me be very clear, crystal clear on this. From the inception of ICANN in '98 till today, and moving forward to 2020, when this strategy will cover this period, why we are here is untouchable. What we do, the scope of what we do, is untouchable. This is who we are. That doesn't change. How we do things needs to change. And so I want to make that distinction because often we get worried that the scope is expanding, who we are is expanding. That is our rock, and it does not change. However, we have to look at new ways to do things. And today you saw some of the things we're introducing to do that. The how is very important. We introduced yesterday the concept of agile growth at ICANN, that not everything has to be developed in what we call a waterfall model. We can do things in parallel. We can move faster. We can together think of ways to develop policy faster, to implement programs faster. That's agile. Agile has transformed big companies. It has transformed how innovation happens. I am certain, and I'm introducing these ways into ICANN so that we can also become agile. Now, we can change everything about how we do things except one thing. So in the how, there is one thing that never changes, and that's the bottom-up multi-stakeholder model. So we can change everything, but we cannot change who we are and how we do things. Multi-stakeholder, bottom-up, that's our magical ingredient. And that's what gives us the legitimacy of doing what we do. So my commitment to you stands today, as I said earlier. This is ICANN. It's you. It's you. And I know that. All of us are in this mission together, and you come first, and your decisions bottom up are the ones that drive ICANN forward. So in conclusion, I just want to go back to where I left you in Toronto. Between now and Buenos Aires, we will be in this first phase of enabling ICANN. If we do this well, we can move into growing good things and into producing great fruit for ICANN. And I am confident that if we stay together, focused, and never lose our magical ingredient, we will be building together a great season. So enjoy your week, and I hope we have a great time together and learn a lot and advance. Thank you.